This presentation is brought to you by Arizona State University's Julianne Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability and a generous investment by Julianne Wrigley.
It's my opinion that the United States left the age of energy complacency in the last couple of years. On climate change, it came in part from Al Gore's movie, An Inconvenient Truth. Perhaps more substance, the fourth assessment of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change came out with a report where they said that it was unequivocal that the world was warming, which was quite a statement because the temperatures go in different directions in different places in the world, so it takes thousands and thousands of measurement points to be able to make a definitive statement, and that there was a 90% likelihood that this was caused by human activities. And in science, that's about as close as it gets to certainty, although scientists don't like to use the word certainty. So the science debate sort of ended. President Bush and his science advisor have both accepted the findings of the fourth assessment. So the science issue of climate change has sort of been settled, and the issue is really what are the adverse effects of this and what is the time frame we have to deal with them. On the oil side, I would say that probably prices in the range of $3 to $3.50. At some point, it passed a point where the market did respond. And the Congress did respond last year with the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2007. Congress never gets any credit when it does the right thing. Partly because Congress is a messy institution. So even when they do the right thing, they've had all sorts of fights. They've looked silly. They've looked partisan. But every once in a while, they do something. And in this particular case, the bill got us back into the mileage efficiency game. The fleet of all vehicles, which includes cars, vans, and SUVs, now averages 25 miles per gallon. It really doesn't because the tests that the Department of Transportation does are so bad, but we use that number, and that will have to go up to 35 miles per gallon by 2020. I would argue that we should be going up faster than that, and we could go up faster than that without disrupting the market, but that's still pretty good. Also, there are strong requirements for biofuels. Unfortunately, in the early years, that's mainly corn ethanol, which is not probably worth the subsidies that it gets, but it does start to move us to more advanced forms of ethanol. And then it also had more requirements for more efficient appliances and lighting, and virtually outlaws the incandescent light bulb by 2015. So we've left the age of energy complacency. What do we need to do? On the agenda coming up, we should quickly pass a renewables portfolio standard nationally, which would somewhat model the Arizona law. This was it had majority support in both houses last year, but it failed to break a filibuster. I'd go back and interview the people that voted for the filibuster and ask them to explain their position. Then we have to deal with how to deal with carbon emissions. And that will either have to involve a tax on carbon or a cap and trade system, which I assume you've studied to some extent. I think that the key concept in all of this is that carbon has to pay its way. It's now being dumped into the commons. It's like if you took your garbage each day and you just dumped it on the street, or you dumped it in your neighbor's yard, or you dumped it in the local park. If you did that, there would be a consequence to pay. But right now, you can dump your carbon dioxide into the air, and that's considered a free good with no limitation. So we have to put a price on carbon. How do we do that without damaging the economy? And also having that price be high enough to actually deal with the problem. Well, you have to phase in the price because in fairness to people, you have to respect decisions they've already made about how far away they live from work and their professions and their lifestyle. But you also need to send a signal that things cannot remain as they are. So even if the higher tax at the highest level doesn't go into effect until 10 years from now or 20 years from now, if people know it's coming, it starts to affect their car purchases, their home purchases, how far from work they live. The other secret ingredient, it's not totally secret, but it's been proposed before, but is rebating the money from the tax or from the auction of carbon credits back to the consumer. Right now, most of the plans that call for the auctioning of carbon credits or energy taxes already have figured out how the government's going to spend the money. Many of those projects are good projects. If I was going to make an exception for government spending, I would spend it on mass transit, like the light rail system you all are doing here, which I think is terrific. But in the political world, you have to keep it simple. And you start making exceptions for one thing, you have to make them for other things. So if you say, with no exceptions, we're going to rebate this money to the public, and then we're going to have to find a leader who can go to the public and say, you're going to have to pay higher prices for energy.
This presentation is brought to you by Arizona State University's Julianne Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability for educational and non-commercial use only.